order. The new business is Pennsylvania American Water Company, the Aldridge intake improvements. TJ, I read through it. The only thing I'm concerned, which may mean nothing, a lot of the comments back to you guys was,
Yes.
It's a private property, doesn't matter, private property.
Yeah.
We okay with all that, or?
Well, I guess you guys each have a copy of the drawing set in front of you now. And this was what was originally, this packet is what we originally submitted in March. I have two sets of drawings here, which were revised when we responded to Lennon Smith's comments of May 14th.
Okay.
So these two drawing sets are more current than the ones you have in front of you. Those are the originals. As you know, Bankston is the design engineer for Pennsylvania American for this project, so the township retained Lennon Smith to review this set of drawings, since it's an oddball case where your township engineer is also the design engineer for Pennsylvania American. Just so the record's straight, we were hired to be Pennsylvania American's design engineer in November of 2022, before we were appointed as Union Township's engineer. So Lennon Smith stepped in. They wrote a letter at the beginning of May. I forget the exact date. May 6th. They had a number of comments, which Bankston responded to on May 14th. I believe each of you has a copy of this letter from Bankston responding to Lennon Smith's comments in your packets tonight. Many of the comments were kind of general in nature. Some of them were design related. We did send this information back to Sean Wingrove from Lennon Smith. We haven't heard anything back from Sean since we sent this to him last Tuesday. But I think, Dennis, to answer Lori's question, there were some comments about posting a performance bond and an amenities bond and entering into a developer's agreement, and certain other comments in the letter that, this is a private facility for Pennsylvania American. It's gated, there's no public access, there's no visitor parking, those sorts of things. So I guess a question that maybe should be discussed here with the planning commission is, in terms of the developer's agreement and posting financial surety, I would assume it'd be a little bit more of a simplified agreement, since there isn't any public improvements.
Hope not.
I'm not sure if a developer's agreement's even needed, since it's all.
It all depends at times about the difficulty of the client, of the applicant that you're dealing with.
For what it's worth, Pennsylvania American paid their fee for land development application, and they posted an escrow account with the township, so that's,
How we do the escrow account is it still current? I don't want to have what was done in the past. So, excuse me?
To my knowledge, it's not, but not to their fault, too.
So they owe us money? Do we have an idea what that is? Don't worry, we'll find out.
I have a file. It's not their fault.
Policy of the board is to make sure we're being current on the basis.
true.
Did they sign that escrow agreement we used?
We made our application before that was a published document. Certainly, we'd be happy to do that. No objection to that. Dennis introduced the professional services escrow agreement that each applicant in Union Township will now sign, stating that they have no objection to posting an escrow account and maintaining it current. This application for land development approval was submitted before we started using that as common practice.
That's because of the dilemmas that the previous board would allow. Then, if I'm correct, that agreement also provides that they don't pay, keep it current, and they waive the time periods of the MPC.
Correct.
So it's something new we're trying to do, so we don't have the issues that the previous board had.
If you'd like, we can go through this May 14th letter. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it or not. I can give you a general overview of what this project entails. Maybe that'd be helpful first. So this is our, I guess I'll lay this out over here. This is, we'll call this our general site plan drawing. I don't know if you guys over there can see that well or not, but the Monongahela River is on the right-hand side of the sheet. The village of El Raymond is up here. The main water treatment plant is up here. Pennsylvania American has an access road which comes down from their water treatment plant to their existing intake structure, which sits right here.
Is this like their pump house?
Yeah. So at their intake structure, they pull water out of the Monongahela River and pump it from this building up to the treatment plant so that it can be treated and then sent to the distribution system. So as part of
Monongahela water.
Pennsylvania American is applying for land development approval, they'd like to construct an electrical building right here so that they can, there's a couple of existing electrical transformers which sit in the driveway area right now. They'd like to remove those, install new transformers, install new electrical building, and then rewire everything to this building because they're replacing all of their pumps. So constructing this building here to house the electrical equipment and constructing an addition on the front of this intake building to house the new pumps. So the whole reason for this project is the Army Corps of Engineers is taking the lock and dam out of the Monongahela River, which is gonna reduce the water level by about 3 feet, which means, not to get super into the weeds for, pumping characteristics and fluid dynamics, but there's a lot, these pumps that are in here become a lot less efficient when they have to pump over a higher head to get to the treatment plant. So the pumps are old and they now have to do more work than were originally, so Pennsylvania American wants to replace all of the pumps in here. And they're just gonna do the electrical work while they're down here as well. So building a electrical building, building an addition on the front of this intake, building stormwater management here, which will collect the roof drains from the intake and the electrical building into a stormwater system that will be underground, and then they'll just pipe that past the intake building to the roof. Also, as part of this, they're gonna expand their parking lot down here a little bit. Lennon Smith was asking some questions about parking, and obviously.
Did you do that right to no request on Malora? She said to wait till after this meeting.
Temporary workers down there and nobody really visiting, so, that comment may not be fully applicable here, but that's the overall intent of this project. Obviously, for a project of this size, there's many permits, that are required. They need to get Pennsylvania American needs to get a permit from DEP to change out all their pumps, public water supply permit. They need to get a permit from DEP because of their proximity to the Monongahela River and the fact that some of what they're doing is within the 100-year floodplain. None of this work occurs within the floodway itself, but there is disturbances in the floodplain. So, the water company's getting a permit for that encouragement. And they also got, previously, they got a variance from the Union Township Zoning Hearing Board because this electrical building sits only 5 feet away from this side property line. And the side yard setback is 20 feet in this area. So Pennsylvania American was granted a 15-foot side yard setback.
So it's
to move
easy.
this building closer to the property line.